You've dreamed about the perfect house, a place to call your own, and a place to not only stretch out, but to grow. Auto Owners protects your house because to you, it's home. That's simple human sense. Happy to help, man. I was just over there talking to myself anyway.
Well, hello and welcome to this week's edition of the Red Raider Coaches Show. My name is Brent Johnston, and along with me here is head coach Mark Wilson of the Bacon County Red Raiders. Coach, how you doing today?
Doing great, doing great.
I told you when you come down the hall, this show's going to be a little easier than the last couple, right?
A lot easier when you win.
That's right. It always is. And we're excited about that first win. You know, it broke a long losing streak. A couple games this year, and then it actually went back to the 2020 season, where we lost a few games at the end, and then unfortunately last year we had that whale of a record. But it's always good to win, whether you're breaking losing streaks or not. And congratulations on your first win as a Bacon County Red Raider. And we do have a couple players in the gallery today. I want to congratulate them who put forth a great effort again last Friday night. And we'll get to that game in a little more detail in a few minutes. But
great.
Again, I want to start off by thanking the folks from last Friday that sponsored the meals throughout the day on Friday. We always talk about how important these guys, their nutrition, getting enough food in them, at least on Friday, but it's a process throughout the whole week. Where we've mentioned the lunchroom staff chips in and helps making sandwiches, and then the local hospital system has provided some drinks that allow these guys to rehabilitate their bodies, specifically after workouts and before workouts, but also practices and those types of things. Last week, the breakfast was sponsored by the Alma Pro Wash, as well as DLE and Sons and Taylor Egg Farm. Now this breakfast is a pretty big deal because they bus the kids over to the First Baptist cafeteria, there's another name for it, social hall, in which we have some men from the community come in and they cook this breakfast. Pancakes, we're talking big time here, you know, Huddle House type stuff. Pancakes, eggs, bacon, sausages, those types of things for these young men. And then there's typically some type of a speaker there that shares a few moments with the guys, gives them some inspiration. And then we have the big pregame meal, which a lot of schools, almost probably across the state and across the country, pregame meals has become sort of a common thing. I know locally we ask churches to chip in, and in the past, pre-COVID, you know, we would actually travel to these churches and have an opportunity for these boys to and coaches to go in out in our community. But during COVID and even now, just for some logistics, I think, you know, it's been better for the meal to come to the school, to the lunchroom where the boys eat, and some members of that church, including a pastor, a youth pastor, come and again share a word of inspiration for these guys. And I know you appreciate that, Coach.
No doubt. Yeah, that's great. I tell you, the breakfasts were great. Last week we were fortunate to have the Wall of Fame inductees. They were there to eat with us, and Mr. Marty Matters gave the speech before, you know, the little speech, and it was great. And so we appreciate that. And then, like I say, the pregame meals in the churches and coming in and doing that, it's big for us.
Well, the pregame this week was not sponsored by a specific church, but by a specific family. And that's Mr. and Mrs. Rashid Slade, and we want to thank them for being a part of that. And then we can't forget that post-game meal that these guys really deserve, win or lose after a game. But it was a little sweeter last Friday night when they got that bag and that bag of food and that drink as they were able to celebrate that victory. And that was sponsored by Brown's Landscaping, and we want to thank them as well. Again, providing all those meals for these young men. Coach, I want to talk with you a little bit about, before we get started on our varsity stuff, you know, I've been, last week we had 3 home games. We had a middle school JV and the varsity. Yeah. And I'm up in the booth and kind of running the Jumbotron and some other things. And, you know, and I'm able to watch these games as well. And I just wanted to talk to the folks at home a little bit about our middle school program, mention our coaches, and what you're excited about as far as those programs.
Yeah, Coach Owens is our head coach on the middle school program, and Coach Woodall's helping him on the offense and defense. You can do it, you got to coach everything pretty much. And Coach Toomer also, he does our defense, and then coaches, they just switch and coach different positions. But they're doing a great job. Been able to watch them a couple of times. The kids are well coached, and they're running our offense and defense, which is big, you know, because they know our terminology coming up, and done a real good job. Look great, you know, and got some good athletes and big kids, and we're excited about getting them up with us. You know?
That's right, and that's exactly, you know, what I have noticed. Some good-looking kids, some athletes. I told you before the show I was going to talk about one kid that really stood out to me. We had a home game a couple weeks ago that I noticed him, and then last week, well, he just looked real poised. The first offensive play of the game last week, he throws it about 35, 40 yards to a receiver for a touchdown. That's the Hennessy kid. And he looked very poised and very just doesn't look like he gets too rattled.
Yeah, he's you know, does a great job in the pocket and got a real good arm, you know. But you know, quarterback's a lot more to it than just throwing. A lot of people don't realize you got to get them in and out of a huddle, get everybody lined up right, and get everybody going and getting the cadence right. And there's a lot to quarterbacking, and he, like you say, he's real poised and definitely got a great arm.
Well, we're excited to see those guys, and I think there's quite a few 8th graders on that team. We'll see come up to the Red Raiders next year. But like you mentioned, it's important to instill your philosophy and your offense and defense at that level, so those kids will know the terminology, and it'll be a sort of a seamless transition.
No doubt.
When they get to the JV and varsity level of our Red Raiders. And I want to also have you tell us who the JV coaches are.
Yeah. You know, our JV, I don't think we've been able to play JV here for a couple, 3 years, so this was really our first year getting back out there. We got a good 9th grade class, big 9th grade class. Coach Beecher, Matthew Beecher, is our head coach at JV, and Coach Tron Folsom and Coach Reed Burkett. They Coach does more of the offense, Reed, and Coach Tron does more of the defense. But those are the ones that head up our JV, and you know, we sort of do where our JV with having 8 coaches, we're able to do our JV work with our defense, while our varsity guys work the offense and just switch it. But you know, the JV guys, they're your scout team on during the week for the other opponents. So it's sort of a tough gig, really. Right. You run your offense and you run another offense and another defense, and you know, so they've done a real good job. And I always tell them that's where you learn. You know, you learn and get tougher when you playing on the scout team.
Well, those guys, and you hear it at all levels. I think you hear it more in the collegiate than you hear them talk about it maybe at that NFL pro level. But pro level have practice squads too. And but at that college level, at least from the University of Georgia, which I follow quite often, you hear Kirby talk a lot about his practice squads.
No doubt.
And even their starters going down, maybe they have a slight injury or they're trying to get prepared, getting game ready. You know, they got guys asking to go down to get more reps to be able to play. And it's an important role that those kids play, and it's exciting the fact that you're able to field a JV team this year to give those kids an opportunity that wouldn't have you know, maybe a lot of playing time on a Friday night.
That's right.
But what people in the stands and you guys at home watching this show may not know is, boy howdy, do we have a lot of freshmen and sophomores playing varsity
no doubt.
on Friday nights.
Yeah.
So that's you know, that's something there. You know, we got a bunch of kids that could be playing true JV. I think there's a rule, maybe you can play 2 quarters of JV.
Well, you can play six quarters during the total, and it goes upon the varsity game the previous Friday night. So every how many they get in that game, then you get 6 total. So yeah, and a lot of people don't realize that with our situation, building a new program, I can always tell our guys the JVs might not be as successful because freshmen, sophomores playing with the varsity. Right. If they were all together, we'd say we'll be eventually.
That's right.
You know, then we got some big things to look forward to.
Yeah, that's super encouraging. Again, that's some things that people at home in the stands we don't pick up on and don't see, and that's why we have these shows to give you that information. We want to thank those coaches for stepping up and taking that extra responsibility outside of their varsity responsibilities. And there was one kid that stood out to me the last couple of weeks, especially last week again, is Green is his last name. D'Anthony Green. He's got a nickname.
Moopy.
That some people may know him. He's not a real big kid. He's a little thick looking. I've coached a couple of his brothers in basketball who were very athletic. They were a little more slender and a little taller maybe than he was, but super athletic. But this kid, he's got a motor.
He does, and you know he's gotten a lot stronger in the weight room, and that's helped him. And but he's fast. If he gets out, he can go. You know, and that strength's really helped him run tough inside, and you know he'll get some snaps for us probably this week a little bit on the varsity, and during the rest of the year. You know, we got some kids that banged up, a little sick or something, and he's gonna step in there, and that's why it's good to run the same system because they know it and can keep doing that. But he's had a good game the other day because you know we're playing Irwin. They'll hit you in the mouth, so he didn't shy away from that and got after it.
Yeah, that's good. And all those boys got their athletic ability. I know they got some from their mom.
Oh yeah.
I went to school with Sherelle, and she's one of the fastest girls I have ever seen, ever been around. She was a tremendous athlete in high school, running track, playing basketball. And her mom, again, was a really great athlete for Bacon County High School.
That's
too.
Great.
Just a good family, much less their athleticism. Well, Coach, we did get a big win last Friday night versus Atco, and you know it was something. Not only we've been talking about these moral victories,
right,
but looking up at that scoreboard, I can tell, and you can see the reaction of the boys after the game. And you know the latter part of the game when we felt like we had it in hand, and the community. It was just a big win for the boys, the community, the coaching staff, everybody.
It was. I mean, you know, you go through the period that we went through, and you know, it's just great to see the kids win. You know, all the hard work paying off and those kind of things. I mean, you can say it all the time. You know, hey, it's going to pay off. It's going to pay off. But when it does, that's when it really hits home for you. And we played a good game. Atco was coming in, you know, hot. They had won the week before and beat a real good Telfair team, and you know, Telfair had actually beat Lanier.
Right.
We played early in the year, so we knew it was going to be a tough matchup. But our kids really came out to play and played hard, and which they've done every week. I can't say that they've come out and played hard and just did a great job.
Well, the first thing I noticed it's been most of the teams we played is they had some pretty good size up front.
No doubt.
And man, did they have a big running back.
Yeah, that big fullback they had, he was a load, and we had challenged our kids all week. Hey, we're going to have to get low on this boy. Yeah. And hit him high and hit him low, you know.
Right.
And have team effort to the ball, and that's what we did. We had, you know, 9-10 hats to the ball every time, and so that's how we have to play.
Well, with a guy like that, you have to high and low. You just got to bring him down.
That's right.
You know, and they were able to move the ball on occasion, but nothing major. You could tell with that wing T style offense. A lot of times those schools or those style, they're not real comfortable throwing the football.
Right.
And you can kind of tell, and of course the weather played a role in that well. So we know that that's a disadvantage even more to a team that needs to throw the ball to catch up because we were up on them most of the game. But I feel like our defense did a fantastic job again. They've showed up every game.
That's right.
You know, our offense, like we talked about, we've been just a few inches, a few feet away from really some explosive plays, but our defense has played pretty solid all year, and you said before, defense wins championships.
No doubt, and that's what we try to preach. You know, we got to be great on defense, and our kids came out and played hard, and that's where. And when you're playing a wing T, you've got to be coachable the week you're playing it because you've got to read your keys. It goes sideways, and they try to get you looking in the backfield, but our kids did a great job with that. And I told them this week at practice we're able to make some adjustments now because they're starting to learn what we're talking about, you know. Sometimes you can say that, and they're like, I don't know what you're talking about, you know. But now they're starting to learn it, and so that helps out.
We had a couple big offensive plays as well. I think we showed not only, well, we didn't show, you know what we got, but we showed some of the folks in the crowd that did stick around during the first and second half. Again, the weather was horrible again. We're hoping this Friday or the remaining Fridays maybe just a little bit cooler, feel some fall in the air. Right. Maybe we without some, maybe drier, I guess, the rest of the season. But we showed that we had some athletes on the field. And
no doubt. You know, like I say, the offense started clicking a little bit. We've been able to put a few things in every week, and starting to get to where we can do things. Travion Rich and the line did a great job. They've been getting better every week, and that's key. Even though we had one of our starters get sick on Friday, the last 2 games, we've had a starter get sick on Friday morning that we had to put somebody else in. People don't know that in the stand. They said, well, okay, you know, but we're rolling out a new kid. They really hadn't got the starter reps on Friday, but the line did a good job. Travion set a school record with. We talked before the game in the thing about the Wall of Fame, and you know, Mr. Slade, who came there, and he'd had the rushing record, I think.
That's right.
So we talked about records before, and we challenged the kids is, why can't you set a record? You know, why can't it be you? And lo and behold, you know, Travion hit a 94-yarder, was a school record, and then Aiden Wright caught a pass from Knox, 80 yards, but then one of our coaches holds the record for that, Tron. He got 96-yard reception. So we got to get back. But I told him I don't know if we'll throw on the goal line like that too much unless we just have to. But
that's right. If I'm not mistaken, that was over at Brooks County.
That's exactly right.
Playoffs.
That's exactly right.
Highlighted that somewhere.
But it's good to see the kids having that success. And then we had a couple drives that we drove, you know, that took time off the clock, and that's some things you have to do, you know, because sometimes the wing T team gets it, they take up the whole,
and they
whole
did.
quarter, one quarter,
first quarter.
That's right.
Had most of the clock that first quarter. But
you know, you got to get away from them. But like I say, things are coming together. Kids are working hard.
Well, and again, that's all we can ask for. You know, is to keep working, and that's what we saw is steady improvement. There hasn't been a week that I have witnessed, and I've talked with other people, that we have digressed, that we have regressed any at all. We have continued to continue to work hard and get better each week, and I don't expect anything less. This week, as we head into another tough environment, another tough opponent, as your Red Raiders will be traveling to Homerville, Georgia, Clinch County, one of the smaller high schools in the state of Georgia, but for the last 20 years have been a perennial power. Pound for pound, this team could play against anybody, pound for pound, over the last 2 decades. But we're excited to go back over there. It's been about 10 years since we've been.
All right.
I wrote down a couple things. I was looking at it yesterday. It was the 2011-12 school year, but 2011 we went over there. We lost 13-14. Had a field goal opportunity at the end to win it. We did not. It was an unsuccessful attempt. But what stuck out from me the most from that game is we beat them up and down the field, just not on the scoreboard. Right. Matt Thrift took a option he kept and took it about 65, almost 70 yards for a touchdown. We took the lead, and the very next kickoff, they returned it for a touchdown and run it back. And that kind of took the wind out of us a little bit there. But we had an opportunity to go over there and do something that it would have been pretty special. But we come up 1 point short, and we gave them all they wanted, and that's what I anticipate this week is us going over there and giving Clinch all they want.
That's exactly right. You know, they've got a good team. They had a great tradition and great program, and you know, they run the triple option, so that's a little different. So you get the wing T one week, triple option the next. So that's high school football, though, and so and their quarterback's a real good player. That's the reason they run that triple out. He gets carried every time. So, you know, that's the thing they do. Got good running backs. Got a real good receiver that's fast, and they spread you out. They got a lot of great athletes. So we're gonna have our hands full. Defensively, they they run the 3-4, and they got real big linebackers, and I don't know where they get all those big kids from and fast, you know. So they not a big school, but they
Coach, you sound
they got a pool of athletes.
You sound a little like Lou Holtz here now. You're talking about this is impossible. There's no way we can go there.
I didn't say that.
I'm just kidding with you.
No, you're right. I've been said to poor mouth that once in a while.
Well, it is pretty incredible. And that's why they, again, pound for pound, this small school in South Georgia, Southwest Georgia, has competed because they somehow or another, man, they got some genes down there that every year they've got at least that one kid that's Division I level that's going to go somewhere, and you know but it's exciting for our boys to be able to go into an environment like that and truly with nothing to lose. We're going in. You know, every game's a scrimmage basically until we get to the region play.
That's right.
These teams don't matter whether we get in the playoffs or not and what seeding we get. That's all going to start with Pelham in a few weeks.
That's right.
And so we just want to stay healthy. We want to travel over, encourage Raider Nation to come over because we don't go to this location very often. To, like you said, to go to a place that has a lot of tradition, that's very proud of their program, and that's what we're looking to do is to create a tradition here and continue, and create a new tradition here at Bacon County High School, and as we continue to compete. So we're excited. We will be broadcasting live. We got permission to do that this week, so we'll be there. But as always, I think we're going to have some really good weather. We'd like for you to drive over to Homerville and cheer these boys on. Let's fill the stands and make our school and our community proud as we go and do that. Before I close off, I do want to just mention again the Wall of Fame last week.
Yeah.
Again, the weather unfortunately kind of hampered, at least early, for a crowd to be there to support these guys that were honored and so deservingly did from the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, the 90s, the 2000s, and then this year the 2010s. And I won't off the top of my head repeat all their names, but we want to congratulate them and thank them for being a part, or their families. Some of these players have passed away since playing for Bacon County, and they had family members there in representation. And again, it was good that a couple of them were able to talk and speak to our boys. And we had talked last week's show before about we always preach that there's no I in team. But there's time and a place for you to set goals, individual goals, like you said. Let's go out and break a record. Why not? Whether it's a rushing record, the 94-yard distance, or total yards or touchdowns or whatever. And those types of things will happen when you have the attitude of putting the team first. And again, Richardson kid would not have been able to break free without that offensive line that has done a good job this year and just continue to get better. So
that's right. And it was great to have those folks and to meet them and have them around. People that's done the things they've done. And it was just great to have them and their family around.
That's right.
Very gracious people, and we enjoyed it. And I'd be remiss to say, I was talking about the defense. Let me go back on our defense. Mike Cuevas O'Neal, he's sort of on a pace to maybe set tackle records. He's averaging about 12 a game. So, and then JoJo, he's averaging about 8 or 9 a game. So,
and these are linebackers, correct?
Linebackers, that's exactly right. So the line's doing a good job keeping the linemen off of them and things like that. But I'd be remiss to go back and not mention those. I meant to mention them when we mentioned defense because they're doing a great job. And we had a couple freshmen in the secondary last week, so they did a good job too. So, that's right. Yeah.
Well, I mention linebackers because it seems like the last several years, or maybe we go back even further, a lot of our leading tacklers are our defensive backs, and that's not always a good thing.
Yeah, that's true.
You won't. But the fact that our linebackers have stepped up,
that's right,
and have been playing aggressive, that's what you want to see, and making some plays. It's been huge. It's been fun to watch.
It's been fun to watch.
So, again, we want to thank you for joining us on this week's edition of the Red Raider Coaches Show. Once again, I want to invite you to travel tomorrow night on the 16th over to Homerville. Kickoff is at 7:30, and support these Red Raiders that have given blood, sweat, and tears. And again, they're student athletes. Let's don't forget that. These are guys that are held to even a little higher standard in the classroom to make sure that their grades and they're doing the right things in the hallways to be able to participate. So we want to thank them for doing that. It's a big deal, and we want to honor them by coming out and supporting them on Friday night. So again, thank you for joining us in this week's edition of the Red Raider Coaches Show. My name is Brent Johnson, along with head coach Mark Wilson.